Okay. All right. So does somebody want to call the meeting to order?
I call the meeting to order at 7:05?
7:03.
7:03. Thank you, Sarah. On November
10.
10th. And it's a Tuesday.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read this boilerplate here. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, DLC 30, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Youth Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: at southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Perfect.
Well done. Marguerite. Wonderful. Okay. I have the agenda in front of me. Shall I share it or should I just follow it?
You can just follow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the first item is to review and approve minutes from the meeting on October 13th. 2020.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes from October 13th, 2020's meeting.
Second. Sarah, Mike is second. I guess I wrote them.
How about I'll call on each member by your name and you can say aye or nay if you don't. So Sarah Micus, you said aye.
Aye.
Sue Butka.
Aye.
Beth Dombacher.
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie.
Aye.
Leslie Haddon.
Aye.
Susan Byer.
Aye.
Marguerite Landry.
Aye.
Wonderful. Okay. The next item is the director's report. So that was sent over email and we tried to provide as much information as we could about what we've been working on in the month of October, and tried to highlight, I'll say for me personally, a lot of my time was spent with Christina this month as she started on October 1st. So I tried to give sort of a listing of all the things that she's been training and cross-training on. But does anybody have any questions about the October report?
Could you speak to a couple of things that you listed? Well, specifically check-ins, the new service that you established, working with the Southborough Police Department.
Sure. So
some info cards that Christina's using.
Christina just made them for us. So what it is that I went and did some presentations at the roll call meetings for the Southborough Police on who we are and what we do. And they assigned Kevin Landry to be our officer liaison. And
Great.
we provided all of the officers with what we're calling SYFS info cards. They're not quite business cards because they don't have a specific name on them, but they're kind of like, if anybody's seen our postcards, they're kind of like a small version of that, so that, you know, let's say they got a call for an incident that was happening on Route 9 with a Southborough resident, and that person needed to just slip something into their pocket. We wanted it to be pretty portable, but also provide enough information that it was actually helpful. So we've been calling those our info cards. And when the police are called to homes for specific reasons, so if it's a mental health related phone call, if there is a domestic dispute, or someone who is potentially a victim of domestic violence, sometimes if it's a substance related issue, then they'll issue one of these info cards to the resident. And then I haven't had a chance to update our staff quite yet. I had a meeting with Kevin Landry this morning, but it's going to be up to the resident to give us a call back. We were proposing for a bit of time that the police officers would let residents know that our department would be calling to follow up to offer additional support. But it's sounding like the best avenue is to leave it up to the resident to call us. But they provide all of our information to them. And so when we have a check-in, it's kind of, we didn't know what to call it. We didn't want to call it a well visit or a well check, because I think that's kind of associated with police and fire. But it's basically a follow-up to an incident that involved the Southborough police. So we have had, I actually just received 2 more of those today.
Really?
So they're not super frequent, but it seems like they come in pairs. So
Good. That's very good, I think.
yeah. And so, you know, again, we're trying to take the avenue of being a first and foremost a resource and referral source for people. So it's not, you know, as though we're going to take on every resident that we have contact with, but it's nice that we're having contact with these residents, so that they know we exist. And our first line of action is to try to find them services based off of whatever their need is. And then if we're finding barriers there, we might try to figure out how to work around those barriers or have them work with somebody in our office.
Great. Sounds excellent.
Awesome.
Did you have any other questions on the report or on that service, Leslie?
Not relative to that. Not, you know, my questions can hold off until we get to the different topics.
On the director's report?
Well, I had a question that concerned the nomination for the 100 Women's Club,
Okay, yeah.
but I don't know if that's going to be covered in our discussion. So I was going to hold off until.
It is not, and it is listed on the director's report. So if you want to talk about that,
Okay.
then we can.
So I'm a member of the club, and I listened to the nominations, and I thought that Lisa Bracchio and the other woman that spoke did a phenomenal job. And I know that the intent is for the funds to go to the holiday giving drive.
Mhm.
Make mention that if one way or another the funds would be used by the Friends group, but I just wanted to clarify that point. If the money doesn't all get used this year, can it be used elsewhere?
We did ask them that because that was a first concern of ours, knowing that the holiday giving program is somewhat unpredictable in terms of what the needs are and what kind of donations we're going to get. So I don't know, I didn't see the video, but we did ask for that clarification from Lisa and Jen, who had nominated us. And we were told that the money would be flexible in that it could be used throughout the year for various needs and could extend into subsequent holiday giving years.
Okay. I didn't know, how did you feel about that, Lauren?
I heard them say in the video that it could be used for other things as well.
Okay. I had heard that too, but I wanted to just make sure that the message was clear enough.
I think it was.
Okay. Yep, that's really all I had.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions on anything on the director's report? Wow. Okay. That's fine with me. Oh,
I have a question in general about the director's report.
okay.
So when you first started doing it, you would run through it and we'd talk about things as you were running through it. But we've switched over to you just asking us if we have any questions. So I'm wondering if this is how it's going to be from now on. Like,
It doesn't have to be. Part of the reason I did the director's report was because there was so much time. Our meetings were so long because I was basically reviewing everything verbally. And so my intention was to try to limit the amount of time we were spending in the meeting reviewing what we had been doing the last month. But certainly I can either, I definitely, knowing myself, if I start to talk about something, I tend to elaborate more. So that's partly why I want to get it to you guys, so that if you have questions or just if something piques your interest and you want me to elaborate on it more, I can, versus going through everything that's in there. But I'm happy to, I would defer to you guys on if you want me to run through the whole thing or not.
well, I don't prefer either way. We just never talked about that we were changing the format of going over it. So I just wanted to clarify if this is how we're going to be, doing
Sure.
it going forward.
Sure.
But for me, either way is fine. I just thought we should decide,
Yeah.
Maybe a way that we can, I like the report because I think it makes things much more efficient for all of us as a group. And we get it ahead of time, so we have an opportunity to read it and review it and make any comments or ask any questions regarding it. But it might be helpful for the staff to highlight maybe 2 or 3 things on that report, which might be of interest or pressing issues or things that might need more discussion.
Sure.
Something.
So like almost like a book club, like Megan's pick and Shannon's pick or something like that.
I like that. Perfect.
I would like to highlight, if I'm going to go ahead and choose, maybe Megan and Shannon, you can quickly look at the director's report to see if there's anything that you want to highlight. But we were approached by Lisa Braccio, one of the selectmen, about our involvement in a mortgage and rental assistance program. So the town had received federal money through the CARES Act. And one of the things that the CARES Act outlines that money can be used for is for mortgage and rental assistance. And so the selectmen had discussed that and decided that they wanted to pursue that. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a time crunch because those funds are only available through the end of this calendar year. So this quickly came together with Lisa Braccio was very instrumental in making this happen, along with Chelsea Malinowski, who's another selectman, and Carla McAuliffe, who's the town accountant, to look at what's required for reporting purposes and also working with other communities to take a look at what other communities were doing for a similar program. And so we are acting as the conduit for people to apply to this program. And so that's a big development in the month of October. So there's income guidelines, and I think the biggest thing to highlight is that this is for families or individuals who have had a loss of income because of COVID-19. That has to be one of the qualifying factors. So, we've got some residents in town who have been struggling or who have been out of work for a longer period of time, but they may not qualify because it's not specifically tied to COVID-19. So that makes it a little challenging at times to try to paint a picture with documents. So we are working with the Emergency Fund Committee to we receive the applications, and then the Emergency Fund Committee reviews them for approval. And then we create a redacted copy of the application. So there's no identifying information on it, but for reporting purposes, Carla has to get a copy of it because they're federal funds. So she gets a redacted copy, we keep the original. But so that's an exciting development that we're able to offer residents. And we've had some good interest already. I think we've had 6 or 7 applicants. So
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, it's good that we can offer it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Has it been a demand on your time or the staff's time, Sarah?
Well, I have been very appreciative of Christina's help. She has been sort of organizing the documents to make sure we have what we need before we take it over to the Emergency Fund Committee. So if I didn't have her, I think I would I would be quite a bit more stressed out with keeping organized. But it's been okay. It's certainly an added thing, but the other piece here is that it's time limited. So, for us, I think it's really well worth doing. And frankly, if we didn't do it, I'm not sure who else would.
Right.
Shannon or Megan, do you have any highlights or your top pick from the director's report?
It could be anything, something you had fun with this past month or something, something you liked.
Talk.
Yeah, I would say either what Sarah just spoke about is very exciting, and it was, some effort to try to put that all together and make it work, and lots of hands in making it work. I think the other thing that we've been having a really good time with is coffee talk. So helping to spread the word about that would be wonderful, because I think we come up with really great topics with really excellent tips and interesting people who come on and talk. And, it's been, I know for me, because I tend to be the more outreachy person, and I'm sad and I'm missing doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way that we're at least doing something to big groups of people on a regular basis. So,
And we have Chamberlain Dykema coming on.
we do.
Oh, that's awesome.
When is that?
We're going big time.
Yeah. When is she coming on?
December 1st, I think.
Yeah.
So it'll be the first Tuesday of December.
Cool.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, it's really such a nice variety of, today we talked about, we had a plan A that fell through. So we had a plan B in our back pocket, and we talked about coping strategies, our favorite coping strategies. But next week, we're going to be talking about a little heavier suicide prevention. We're going to be talking with Carolyn Dykema about the housing crisis. But then, you know, I forget what comes after Carolyn, but we have actually, we have Sabine. Do you guys know Sabine St. Pierre from Sabine's Cuisines?
Yes.
So we're going to do, we're trying to sprinkle in a little bit of fun here and there and highlight some less conventional or traditional coping strategies. And so we did some art a couple of weeks ago with an artist who led us through a, actually, I haven't shown Shannon and Megan. I made another one with my friends the other night.
Whoa.
Oh, very nice.
So we did some decoupage together, and then we're going to be
Fun.
cooking with Sabine the week of
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. So
We
it's
have a
been great.
Hugate expert coming the week of the holiday for the
Yep.
week of Christmas. So we'll talk about the Danish philosophy of happiness and so,
Great.
yeah.
Sarah, how many people do you reach with that?
It depends. Our very first episode was, we haven't been able to top it. We had 789 people watch that one. Yeah. I think today, by the time I checked it this afternoon, it was around 200 that watched today's episode.
Nice.
But it varies. Some of them have higher interest than others. But we're booking into February at this point, which is really exciting. But we're gonna run out of ideas at some point, or maybe we won't. But
No.
if you all have some
Yeah.
ideas of things that we should be discussing, or so it's not just about topics to discuss, but it's also about introducing the community to particular people. So whether it's a provider that lives in town or somebody who's an expert on something, or to talk about a certain program.
Might be interesting to have whoever wins the Sugarman Whittier Award to have.
Yeah, that would be great.
Mhm.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
So, Megan, do you have any highlights from the director's report?
That's going to be my highlight for next month.
Oh, all right.
So-
Don't spoil the
Okay, so
surprise.
Sarah,
I don't know what
It
you're
like
looking
carries over, so
at. Okay.
I'll keep you guys on the edge of your seat.
Yes, the anticipation.
Yeah, I'm trying to just see. I think for me, another highlight is just having Christina on board.
I'm
That's
so
been
glad. I'm
That's
so
been a
glad.
big piece of the month of October, is getting her trained. And I will highlight also that we did get some money from the Southborough Community Fund. I can't remember. Did we talk about that last time?
It
Have we-
wasn't
have we-
definite, I don't think, last time.
Okay, so we did. It's wonderful and also, of course, stressful at the same time. So we applied for 4 different proposals, and actually it was 5. And they came back to us and said, we feel all of your proposals are valuable, but we don't have enough to cover everything you're asking for. So here's a lump sum of money, and we want you to pick, because it's not going to cover everything. So we kind of have to pick and choose what we want to use the funding for. And actually, do I not have this somewhere else on the agenda? I had talked to you all about using some of those funds for a first-year contract with Interface Referral Services. Does that ring a bell for people?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so if you remember, I was trying to figure out where to come up with year 2, because they require a 2-year contract. Well, the good news I have, there's some changes to that. The good news I have is they no longer require a 2-year contract.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Great news.
Good.
Yes, great news. So we can do a 1-year contract, pay for it, and you know, they like to see that a community is trying to figure out how to find sustainable funding, but recognizes that it's not always within their control. So the other difference is, though, that they had done they had hired consultants to take a look at their services and their financing, and found that they were losing money. And so they have changed their prices, especially right now. They're incredibly busy. So year number 1 is actually $16,000 versus $13,000. And then any subsequent year after that is based off of usage. So it's possible that it could go down based off of our usage if we didn't meet a certain quota. It's also possible, though, that it could go up. And so, oh, it is on the agenda because it's about the budget. So this relates to our FY22 budget request.
Okay.
So it won't exceed $20,000. That's the highest it could possibly go. But year number 1 is 16. What happens after that is based off of usage.
And when do we have to sign up for that, or?
Well, so right now I have a contract from Interface that I have asked the town attorney, Aldo, to review.
Okay.
So it's in his hands right now. And so I'm waiting to hear back from him. By the time we hear back from him, it may be a moot point because Interface only launches 4 communities at a time.
Oh,
And so we may lose any available spot that was there if we don't do it quickly enough. So if that happens, and we go to a plan B, but
Did they only do it for the calendar year?
no, so you can launch twice a year. It's July 1st or January 1st.
gotcha.
Okay.
Does Aldo know that there's kind of a deadline?
I did tell him, yes. So I have to follow up with him just to say hi again and see what happens. Oh, Shannon. Are your children attending the meeting?
Yes, I run a bank. Wanted to know
Oh.
if I had change for a 50.
Do you?
No.
That's funny. So yeah, Aldo's reviewing the contract. It is time sensitive. Hopefully we get it back so we could actually use some of the community fund grant money for year number, a first year contract with them. If we run out of time, you know, I haven't been in touch with Interface since I asked for the contract. So, you know, it's possible we've already lost the spot. I don't know. So I'm just waiting for that to come back. And there's a couple of other things. I will talk about the budget. This relates to the FY22 budget. But if it's okay, I'd like to just tell you that there are 2 other things that are on the table from the community fund money.
Mm.
So we're trying to take care of the Interface piece first to see how that shakes out. And that helps us determine what money we have to work with for the other 2 projects. The other 2, if you remember, I think we talked about this, are one is working with a strategic consultant who would be helping our department conduct a needs analysis for the community. And then also developing a strategic plan with the data collected from that needs analysis. So that's one option. And then the other is working with a consultant to help our substance abuse prevention coalition with some capacity building and training. We are leaning a little further towards the strategic consultant and doing some needs assessments in the community because for a couple of reasons. One is there's a lot of barriers right now in the way of our coalition being able to successfully meet on a regular basis. The members of the coalition are people like Dr. Safdar Medina, who's incredibly busy right now, Mary Ellen Duggan, who's the nurse health leader for the district, who's incredibly busy right now. Everybody's just really stretched thin. And so logistically, it's hard for us to successfully get together on a regular basis. On top of that, substance abuse, we know is an issue, but it's one of many. And we'd really like to try to get a clearer picture of what holes exist. I mean, a pandemic is kind of a strange time to be doing strategic planning, but it's also the perfect time to find out what holes are existing in services. So we are leaning more towards that option for what's left of the money. But again, we're trying to see if we can do interface and then see what we have left to make decisions about the other things.
Is it your hope to start the interface as soon as possible, or would you prefer to start it with the beginning of the next fiscal year?
To start it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, because the fiscal year would be July, so that'd be like round 2, right?
Well, it would be if we were slated to have a spot in January, our contract with them would be January through December.
Mhm.
But the money in our budget from FY22 for the subsequent year would start January of 2022, which is still within that fiscal year. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I do think with the rise in the numbers too, the next 4 months are going to be not good.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, the vaccine news is very promising, but I think in the interim,
Mhm.
the numbers are terrible.
Mhm. And I also think there's a lot of trauma associated with this whole thing. So even if people start to feel better, I think there's, we talk about that at work and on the show actually about long-lasting implications that go beyond, just the vaccine. So, so that's another update off of the director's report. It has to-
Sarah, did you have a specific person or company in mind for the strategic consultant?
Yeah, we worked, we found, so actually I meet with youth and family service directors in other communities on a regular basis, usually every other month. There's a statewide group, and then there's a smaller group that's just the Metro West area. And this woman named Ann Budner has actually been doing strategic planning for other youth and family service municipal departments. So it's kind of become a niche thing for her, which is pretty cool because I think we kind of are unique, in the sense that we're not just human service, but we're municipal human service. So that changes things quite a bit. And so she was the person we were hoping to go with, and she actually already wrote us up a whole proposal that outlines exactly what she would be doing. She also has some flexibility in that if we decide to take a piece out, that changes the price, or if we decide to do some of it ourselves, that changes the price. So, and my hope actually is that I would like to really closely watch this process because I think it's a valuable exercise for us to do every 5 years or so, where we're, assessing the needs of the community and then developing a strategic plan with a, group of stakeholders and then using that strategic plan for 5 years to help guide our services and our mission. So
Yeah,
so
I'd be
like
interested to see what she has to say.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I have seen the plans that she's made. She worked with Westboro Youth and Family Services last year. She also just finished with Hopkinton Youth and Family, and the plans are great because they're very comprehensive. And for a department that really craves parameters, because there's no, it's hard. There's no limit to what we could be doing in our office. We really need that sort of a box to live in, to say this is what you do, and anything outside of this is not something you do.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So that would be very helpful for us and improve our efficiency. And so I'm hopeful. I feel confident that we'll be able to work with her in some capacity.
Last time around, after our meeting, you had mentioned the donation account as being a possible source of funding for the interface.
Yes.
Is that something that we could use a portion of in order to meet the needs of both the one-year contract and the strategic consultant?
Possibly. I kicked myself after I sent that follow-up to you guys, because if you recall, one thing that I forgot that fell off of my radar, if you guys remember, you approved that we could use $4,100 from the donation account to cover our consulting with Rona, our clinical consultant. So what I thought we had available in the donation account is not in fact what we have available, but we do still have funds in there, and I do think that's
6,000, I think.
Yeah.
After 4,100.
Yeah.
So might get you there.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Definitely. Although we do have some other items to ask you guys about the donation account that really we need. If it's okay, can I move on to the next item, which is the FY22 budget update?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So related to, if you guys remember, I had to submit our budget request last Friday. I'm in a time warp, so it may have been last Friday, it may have been 2 Fridays ago. No, it was probably 2 Fridays ago.
Well, your letter's dated October 30th, so
thank you.
If that helps.
Thank you. It does help. So if you read the letter, it'll be evident what I'm gonna say. But so what the board voted on when I reviewed what I would like to submit for a budget proposal, the figures were incorrect, because after that discussion, I found out from Interface that their prices had changed. And as you recall, so what you guys had discussed and voted on and approved was $13,000, which is what it used to be per year.
And now it's 16, and we don't have to commit to 2 years.
Well, so we're hoping to do year number 1 with grant funds.
Okay.
So year number 1 would be $16,000 from the Southborough Community Fund grant. So budgeting Interface for FY22 would be at a year 2 starting point. And because that year is variable, it gets tricky. So what are you supposed to budget for, right? Because you don't know what the usage is going to be for year 1. So I asked this, and they said this is a common challenge for a lot of towns. And so what we advise people to do is to allow for flexibility and budget for the maximum possible amount.
Yeah, well, that's the only way you can do it, right?
Right. So I budgeted for $20,000 in our FY22 request, and I submitted that memo along with the request that outlines what that means, and that it's, there's a strong possibility, given the population and size of Southborough, that it won't be that much, but we won't know until January of 22 what year number 2 looks like.
And if we don't spend it, because I think we've learned this through this process, then, it just goes back, right, to them.
It can, or it can be part of our budget if, there's always ways that we can spend that money. So it can be part of our budget on a regular basis, especially since in our 5-year plan, we were intending to increase our contracted services line item. So, right now it would be earmarked for if we needed it to be a $20,000 contract. But I would say since we have a bottom line budget, it's something I think we easily could be using for other things.
Okay.
Wasn't interface supposed to be, because we probably weren't going to bring on more people for that year, sort of a substitute for one other person?
Yeah, our original 5-year plan, everything has been moving fast and furious. And plus, our hiring of Christina was delayed, right? So she didn't start until October 1st.
Right.
We haven't really had time to adjust quite yet to having her and to be able to see the impact that having an administrative assistant has had on our department. And so that, and also the fact that it's not a very fiscally responsible thing to do right now. We've had a lot of support. We're incredibly grateful. And to be honest, I don't think there's ever going to be a time that we have enough staff. But the goal is to get to a responsible and sustainable level where, we're not just patching things together and flying by the seat of our pants, and people have a streamlined, single focus job within the department versus having one leg in this area, and which is what Shannon's really doing a lot of. She's doing prevention work, but also doing all of the need-based programs. So our hope is that we'd like to cross-train Christina on a lot of the programs that Shannon coordinates, because a lot of them are just simply applications and, collecting documents. And so if that means that, Christina can handle registering people for things or collecting those documents, then that would free up Shannon for more of the prevention work, which is really what that new additional staff member that
Would have done, kind of. Yeah.
That's the original plan, was to bring one more person on for the outreach and prevention work. So mainly it's not a good year for the town, and we want to recognize that. But we also want to highlight that the resource and referral piece is really kind of a critical need, and one that we are trying to do, but not super successfully. So
if this interface thing works out, there'll be documentation showing like the hours too, right? So that you can actually show the town.
Oh yeah.
How much need there really is, right? Yeah. For that position. And
the nice thing about interface is that they don't, residents don't even have to come through us. It's a hotline that's available to anyone that lives in town. They can call all by themselves and get help finding a therapist. They can, if they, if there's some trepidation, we can make that phone call with them. Or maybe they haven't heard of interface, they call us first, and then we do a 3-way call and we call interface together. That being said, though, there are still plenty of barriers. They help people find providers who when the resident has insurance, when the resident can afford a copay on an ongoing basis. So it does not substitute the work that we do, because we offer our services when there's barriers to people getting help elsewhere.
Right.
So, but it's just the piece of, it's very daunting how long it takes to help find an opening at a particular office.
This is very true.
Yeah.
Sarah, what was the salary what would have the salary request have been if we had followed the 5-year plan and made the request this coming fiscal year to add another position? I just want to make sure they're aware we're actually saving the town money.
Sure.
I think they would know that too, because the whole benefit thing is so huge. So you hire someone or you hire somebody part-time and you bring them on full-time. Shannon knows this,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I know you've brought that to their attention in terms of
Bless you.
mentioning that we're no longer making that request and that instead we're asking for the contracted services. But if they come back with, you know, wow, your contracted services is going up by X%, then you can go back and say, well, you know, the request we did 410%, I guess. You can go back and say, well, overall, it's a net saving for the town.
Yeah, already it sounds that way, because to hire a person and also give them benefits would be so much more than $16,000.
Yeah, so I'm looking
Kind of know
at,
that already.
we're looking at an outreach coordinator being the title of this new, which I think we'd have to work with the personnel board to shuffle things around a little, because I'm almost thinking Shannon moving into more of the position of outreach coordinator, whereas you know, we want her to be doing prevention work and outreach, and have somebody dedicated to the need-based and case management services. So that was actually at a step 6, which is a minimum of 57,210. If that was a full-time position.
Oh yeah, so it's more than double.
Yeah.
It's such a deal.
Yep. Just make sure you remind them of that if they give you any grief.
That's a good point. So I just wanted to explain why, actually, so I think that I know you as board members took a vote last time conceptually and on the figures of 13,000. I told Brian Valentine when I submitted my budget where it said 20,000 that I did not have the board's vote on these figures. So if I could, it's the same concept basically, but just different figures this time around because of the increase in the contract. So
Can I make a motion on that?
yes.
All right, I move that we amend our budget to include a sum of up to $20,000 for interface referral services.
Second.
Okay. Sarah Mike.
I mean, I third, A.
You can just say I.
Just I.
I don't know if I have to say your name, Sue Butka, but go ahead.
I.
Okay. Beth Dombacher.
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie. Okay. Leslie Hack.
Aye.
Susan Byer.
Aye.
And Marguerite Landry.
Aye.
Great. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Marguerite.
Yes.
I love making motions.
You're so good at it.
So the next item on here is administrative assistance to the board. I wanted to talk to you all about, I'm just going to tell Christina that she can join us and
Right back, guys.
So now with Christina on board, I was trying to think of ways to streamline things, and the Southborough Youth Commission board is really, we work together. It's its own separate entity, and yet it's an extension of the department. And so it occurred to me that it might be helpful for Christina to include in her responsibilities some administrative support for the board. Oh, and she's here. Let's see. So that being said, Marguerite has been instrumental in continuing to get people to submit agenda items, to put the agenda together, to then send it to the clerk's office. And if there's an amendment to the agenda, to handle that. She's also been trying to touch base with all board members to ensure we have a quorum for the meeting. Marguerite, what else? Am I forgetting other things?
No, but I was thinking about retiring from the clerk job.
Oh, okay. Well,
If that can possibly be arranged, just because things are getting overwhelming here.
yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear you say that, because I was not, because I'm happy that you're overwhelmed, but because I was thinking that it would sort of be streamlined to have Christina help and offer some administrative support to the board. Oh, I'm remembering the other thing too is reserving a virtual meeting space room.
Excuse me, I think Christina's waiting to be let in.
She is. I texted her. I actually have her lined up for the next agenda item. Apparently, Hi, Christina, if you're watching. I can let her in, or ask Melissa if she can let her in now. But Melissa, would you mind letting Christina McCarthy into the meeting?
Got it.
Thank you. So it feels to me like a win-win, hearing Marguerite say that she wouldn't mind, not having these responsibilities on her plate. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
So, so I just wanted to bring it to the board, though, or really it was Marguerite's astute thought to say, let's make sure the board feels okay with that, because I know you guys, we created this position and these responsibilities out of, trying to give back to the board some ownership and responsibilities. And certainly if you guys want to retain those, but, maybe somebody else take them on, that's perfectly fine. But I guess just want to hear your thoughts on that, if there's any reservation with having Christina's help with getting agendas and quorums and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
That sounds wonderful. If it's okay with Christina too, I think that would be wonderful. And Marguerite, thanks for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that.
Actually, it was Sarah who brought it up, and I was fine to do it because it was before Christina was with us.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of just clerical work for the meetings, and now if you could, I actually also, since Sarah and Christina can speak more easily to each other because they're in contact all the time, it would probably save quite a bit of back and forth.
Right. That's
for
true
you,
too.
Sarah. Right. Anyway, so I'm sad to go. It's been wonderful, but
you're not leaving.
You're not going anywhere, Marguerite.
No more clerk duties. Yay.
You can always help me take notes.
Yes, definitely. Right. I know you really get a prize for that anyway. So thank you, Christina. That will be wonderful.
And Sarah, if there are things that, we can help with that are administrative in nature, because I know that your minutes have to get submitted to the clerk's office.
Yeah,
too.
actually, that might be helpful if I could just, I can send them to Amy Berry, but the problem is now all the, any documents that we use in the meeting have to be an attachment, and it gets a little bewildering at times, especially if we have
What a good vocab word.
Documents. So it would be really helpful because most of those documents come from you and Sarah over there.
Yeah.
And if I could send the approved minutes to Christina, she could attach notes and she could then send them to Amy. I don't know if that's just an extra step. I don't really mind doing it. Usually I wait 2 or 3 months and accumulate minutes, and I don't think Amy's really happy about that. But
Oh, I think you're okay. I think we have that amount of time before they have to be posted.
yeah,
So-
she doesn't see it. It doesn't seem. I mean, I really don't mind. I just take a Sunday morning every 2 or 3 months and just send them.
Isn't
But-
it supposed to be 45 days or some horrible thing like that?
I don't know.
I thought it was like 3 months, but
Oh, maybe it is.
It is quite amount. It's a decent amount of time, because then if I go over it, then she hounds me, and it's really great about. Yeah, that one extra step that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like that. It's a lot of administrative stuff.
okay. Well, we'll circle back to you, Sarah. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that. I'll meet with Christina. We'll kind of map out a plan, and that can include you on the back end of the meetings, because that tends to be where the administrative stuff comes up, is after the meeting minutes have been approved. So,
Yes. Yeah.
No.
I don't want to bog down Christine. I'd rather have her focus on less bureaucratic stuff needed. I really don't mind if there's some other pressing thing, but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
something to keep in mind, but it's not a pressing issue.
Okay. All right. We'll circle back to that.
All right.
Thanks so much. And Christina, thank you for being willing to help support the board. It certainly helps support the department too.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so moving right along. So related to the donation account, as I mentioned, there's some other very critical needs we have that I had thought about putting in our budget request, but I want to just have the town focused on interface right now, as that's the most critical need.
Okay.
But one of the things that Christina has helped to highlight or bring to our attention, and really, and talking with her has helped me realize, and we've known this all along, but we have no software at all. So for example, if Megan says to me, hey, do you know so-and-so's phone number? I open a file cabinet and I go through all my files, and then I take a sticky note and I write down the phone number on it and I hand it to Megan. And that is our system. We don't have a database. We don't have an easy way of finding out who lives in a household or what we've done with to help a particular family. Shannon has her own filing system. I have my own filing system, and we're all very organized type A people, which is helpful. Shannon, get out of town. Yes, you are. I'm just kidding. But we desperately need software, something, and we also especially need this for a client portal. So we're kind of doing some shenanigans right now where we're printing out pieces of paper and leaving them in envelopes taped to the door, so that when somebody comes by, they fill it out and then they leave it in the mailbox. There's no way for people to complete documents, and we have a lot of required documents for any of the services we provide. And there's no way for people to easily fill those out. It's especially difficult if a person doesn't have a printer, which we shouldn't bank on people having a printer. So what this would allow us to do is for people to create their own account, to be able to log in. We could communicate, we could schedule appointments with people through software. They could fill out their documents. There's also quite a need in our department for data collection. So some of you who have sat through a selectman or advisory meeting with me in the past have have heard them ask, how many people do you offer X to?
Right.
Say things like, I would love to tell you.
Exactly.
Question. I would love to tell you the answer to that, but I'm sorry to say I don't know, because we have no good tracking system in place. We have no great way. I mean, we have come up with some solutions that involve an Excel spreadsheet that we all have access to, that we can update our statistics on. But it's really, kind of just a Band-Aid. So at any rate, what I wanted to ask you all is about a few things using donation account funds. And these needs are things that are sort of so critical for us that if the board felt the same, we would love to get approval to spend some donation account money on these things now. So the first thing is Theranest, which is what's being used by a lot of other youth and family service departments, and the one that I've become most familiar with. This would be a place for us, those people that we're offering clinical services or case management services to, that they could create their own account. They could communicate with the staff member on a HIPAA compliant platform. They could complete documents without us having to meet them in the parking lot. They could look at our calendars and schedule an appointment. We wouldn't have to go back and forth 100 million times saying, well, what about next Tuesday at 7? Oh, no, that doesn't work. Okay, how about, so they would just see a whole calendar of available appointment times and be able to pick their own. So there's just a lot of reasons why Theranest would be helpful. I have the pricing pulled up for that. Because we are a tax exempt organization as a municipal department, we get half off the price.
Nice.
Unfortunately, what I found out though is if we decide to use that benefit of being a tax exempt organization and doing half off, we can only pay 1 month at a time. But so for 1 month at a time, it's $30 a month.
I'm so fine with that.
It's like
Oh,
nothing.
yeah,
I know.
It's
It's
like
very
your
affordable.
life-
that's a
your life's
no-brainer.
better, the client's life's better for
Mhm.
$30.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Okay, great. Me too.
Yeah.
Let's go through all of them, and then you guys can decide which ones you want to vote to approve. Are there any questions about Theranest?
Hairdresser, you can book your appointment online.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's about time, right?
Yeah.
Can you spell that for me? I'm just trying to write.
Sure. THERANEST.
Okay, got it.
Now, Sarah, would
Yeah.
would that be an invoice sent every month to the townhouse? Or would it come to you and then you send it? I mean,
I
what
can
would be
see
the,
Christina smiling over there because
That's a good
I have
question.
talked with her quite a bit about what has to happen. So here's the unfortunate part for me, probably. I'd love to be able to pay for a whole year at once and have it just be one payment. We're good for the year. But in order to get the half off, which is substantial, we have to do it month by month. That's a Theranest policy. I don't know why, but it is. So to me, I think prioritizing the half off is important. If it's saving the town money, I think that's a worthwhile thing to do. So it would be a big headache for us to try to do that through the accounting department regularly. So what I think would probably be the easiest thing to do would be for me to pay for it myself and get reimbursed by the town, which is something that we have to do fairly often anyway. But unless, the board felt strongly otherwise, An annual fee with Theranest is, it would be $600 a year. If we did not do the half off and just did a
Okay, so here's my question. If we do it $30 a month, it's $360 a year, right?
Mhm.
If we do it, pay it all at once, take the higher price, it's $600 a year. But how many salary hours are you using up with the billing for this?
Mhm.
That, I mean, it's a difference
Yeah.
of what? I mean, the number of work hours to
Yeah.
deal with the billing makes it almost
And meeting
cheaper.
people in the parking lot and
Like that, right?
Yeah,
So,
I
so
agree.
it almost might be a better use of everybody's wages here in the department just to buy the $600 one and not to mess around with having to, spend 3 hours a month dealing with the billing for it.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
And
Sarah,
then put it in the budget the next year.
I
Yeah.
know. I mean, I really do think the town should just be, I mean, maybe not initially, but this should be part of your budget. I think. I mean, it's,
Yeah, of that amount you removed out of that budget line item that was accidentally put in there,
Mhm.
couldn't you put like 600 back in there for that?
Right.
Well,
why don't we
Okay.
just use money from the donation account for that? I
For
mean,
the whole thing.
For-
It's
for year
basically,
one.
it's a savings of $240 to pay monthly, which is
Mhm.
not very much money.
can't we just
Yeah.
pay Sarah in advance and she could pay the monthly fee of $30 for the year? I mean, if we wanted to,
not if we were going to use the donation account. No.
Yeah.
I say we use the donation account for the 600. I
I
agree with
agree.
Marguerite.
I second. It's a false economy to think that it's really, I mean, it's $240. That's really not worth the time.
mhm.
That's a very good point, Marguerite. Thank you for bringing that up. That was very, very.
Sarah, you look shocked. Did you not think that was
I'm
gonna be?
just,
This is
I'm-
New England, right? We don't want to spend money. But on the other hand, how much are you making an hour and how many hours are being spent dealing with saving
How many
$30?
And how many people will get involved if you have to,
Right.
send it to.
Yeah, true.
But
And just the idea,
It's a false economy, I think, to go with the cheaper one.
and we front things a lot, and I don't necessarily think that that's right. I don't think that for things that benefit the town, that employees should be fronting that. I know that you'll be paid back for that, but I do take umbrage to the idea of
No.
having to purchase things to be reimbursed for something
I
that's.
so agree. That's ridiculous, especially for what you guys do. It's just.
yeah,
I don't want to paint the picture that we are being forced to do that. It is
Yeah, no.
possible.
No,
It is
no.
possible to do it on a monthly basis without it being at my own expense. But it's just gonna. I mean, it could be easy once we got in the swing of it, but
It also
Christine would
doesn't,
have to make a payable every month and get something special
Yeah.
made from Theranest to submit to
Also-
accounting and.
It's a
doesn't
waste of
make
your
any
precious
sense from
time.
their standpoint. Usually you get a discount for paying upfront in
Mhm.
advance all at
Sure.
once. So
Yeah, I don't get the pricing on
I
that.
think you maybe could bring that to their attention as well. It doesn't make sense to me why they would give you a discount for paying monthly as opposed to paying all at once up front.
Right.
That's a policy of Theranest. I have no idea why, but I asked.
Sarah's like, I'm really so glad I brought
I
this.
tried, but they said, nope, sorry. Tax exempt organizations or nonprofits can only get
Okay.
pay by
All right.
the month, which is, I don't know why, but
right.
they have their
You would be
reasons.
using it for a very long time though, correct? So it would have paid for itself over a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So go for the 600.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That sounds like a third, a fourth, a fifth.
One more
Okay.
question. That would be an ongoing expense, correct?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I did not put it in our budget request for FY22. We are at a place right now where we need to try something. And the only way we're going to know if this is a right fit for us is to do it. I can't see how it won't be. I have done a lot of research on different platforms, and I've talked to a lot of other youth and family service directors. Megan and I did a demo of this last week. And so I didn't want to put it in the budget until we knew for sure, what it was that we were going to work with. So plus the cost is so low that I thought that this was something that we could easily find funding for if we don't have the funds for it in our FY22 budget, which we very well have that. So
the thought is to try it for a year and see if it works and then put it into the budget maybe?
Yes.
And then if it were in the budget, then they could bill the town monthly at the lower rate, perhaps. I mean, if we were getting to that point where.
I don't know. I don't know how. I have fought this battle a few times. I don't know how, like a subscription works, because according to the town, payment. So businesses are expecting payment up front for a service, a subscription, right? So if you want to start an account somewhere, you pay with your credit card then. According to the town, though, we don't have a credit card. So we have to submit something from Theranos that's special made just for our department to submit to the accounting department to have them pay it.
I say let the accounting department duke it out with the vendor. We just forget it.
That would be nice. But we can cross that bridge when we get to it. Do you guys want to vote on this now before we talk about the other two things?
Oh, sure.
Or do you want to talk? Maybe we should talk about the other two things, because if you're thinking bigger picture about what could potentially be coming out of the donation account, you might decide to pick and choose.
Yeah, let's hear it all.
Okay, so I wanted Christina to come on because she had previous experience working with a software called Salesforce. And Christina, just to remind people, has a background working with nonprofits and assisting families financially. And so there's a lot of different pieces of Salesforce that she found helpful. And she had a call with someone from Salesforce. The name of Salesforce doesn't sound like it fits with our department, but I'll let her tell you a little bit more about it and how it's useful. Take it away, Christina.
Thank you, Sarah. So I've had a couple of years experience with Salesforce, about 6 or 7 years. It is a contact management system. It works for nonprofits, it works for businesses, and it works for government agencies. It is a secure, customizable platform where you can work with clients or customers or donors. Our plan would be to use this to house all of the contact information for everyone, for clients, for donors, for program participants, whether they sign up for a workshop, they're a recipient of the emergency fund or the holiday giving. It'll all kind of live in this one place by contact record and by household. So it allows us to keep everything in one spot and easily run reports for holiday giving 2020. We can, run a report and see all the families and who've received what and everything, and really track growth and trends over time, which would be really helpful for the director's report, for the annual reports, for any board that is interested in seeing what is done in the department. And be able to just kind of have those. It is a contracted service for year-to-year licensing. Another really important capability that this has is tracking budget spending. So rather than using an Excel sheet with a bunch of formulas for what is recorded for, let's say, the emergency fund and taking it away, we can kind of have a dashboard of it in all pretty colors to kind of show where things are at. instead of using an Excel sheet. And all the information can just live in Salesforce in real time with accurate reporting, just simply by entering the grant amount, similar to what we do in an Excel sheet, but have it secure in a nice space that it can live and connect to actual contact records rather than a separate report, which is really, really nice to have. It is very user-friendly interface, and it has some customizable capabilities that I talked through with one of the regional managers that covers the public sector. That's kind of his area of expertise in setting up municipal departments or state or government departments. And he works specifically with Southborough. So I explained kind of our needs and wish list, and he mapped things out and was able to break down the annual cost as well as setting us up with what they call a success package, which basically sets us up, jumpstarts the implementation and building out the bones. So what we would really need. I'll kind of open it up here. It was a lot to take in before I go over some numbers.
I had two questions on that. One, is there a problem with collecting client information and HIPAA compliance on this?
That's my question too. So are there families' names in there?
Yeah, it is. Yep, it is all absolutely safe and secure. It is BAA and HIPAA compliant. This is, you know, the government uses this, like the FBI and certain agencies. So it actually goes through with a login. So it is based on user identifying email address. So it might just be Sarah, myself, Shannon, Megan, if we want to include that, or unless she kind of sticks with their nest. But since she runs programs and workshops and things like that, she'll probably have a username as well. It's login and safely secured and absolutely HIPAA compliant.
Okay, and my other question was, it seems like putting in a system like this, if we had Tom LaFlamme or whoever is going to be in charge of townwide, you know, internet software, et cetera, it might be a good thing to run by them.
Yes, we would absolutely have to run it by the
Because
municipal town committee for technology.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. I was not able to find out if any other town departments use Salesforce, but there might be another department that does. So I'm hoping that either Tom or someone else in that department is familiar enough with it to know its capabilities and its accessible.
Not Tom.
Does Salesforce have a reference to another small town agency that might be using this to manage their front office, back office, and programs and clients?
I was not able to get any other names.
Yeah,
I can kind of go back and see what other comparable towns or departments. I'm sure we're on the smaller end of things, but that doesn't mean that it could be, you know, have any issues.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, actually, because what will happen with like Theranos, which is sounds like a great program, but it's very specific to managing clinical clients. And so you're going to have all these other programs being managed, the outreach programs, the referral programs, all this other stuff in all these different houses. And what you have is with I use Salesforce. So it's a relational database that allows you to kind of have disparate information, but there's key things that help integrate it. So it's either a client number or a program number. It is really pretty easy to manage. You can create your own forms. You can create your own reports. I mean, it has a lot of options, but it does require somebody that's somewhat computer literate to be able to manage. So if you have the experience, Christine, I think that that will be a leg up. And I think it'd be great to institute something like this in the office to manage all aspects of the business at hand.
Right,
So-
also to go to the town for, when we've gone to the selectmen for our budget, to be able to have something in hand to actually, you know, we've used words like, you guys are drowning, you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But we sometimes don't have the numbers.
Mhm.
I'd like to know, as providers and employees of the town, how you feel about this. How do you feel about it?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't have invited Christina or put it on the agenda if I was opposed to the idea. And,
Gotcha.
and I asked her to look into it. She happens, the thing I'm most comfortable with is the fact that she has used this.
Yes.
To me, I don't know if you guys remember, we had a state grant that enabled us to buy some software previously. Titanium, does that ring a bell?
I think so.
That software is so customizable that it's almost impossible to get started if you actually have a job, because you need to just stop what you're doing for long periods of time to build this software. And I tried. Of course, it's not a great year to try because it's so busy. But that's the thing that I'm most attracted to about this, is that Christina has knowledge of how to use it, and the fact that we have a dedicated person who can, you know, focus on this, I think is really critical. And frankly, I think the data collection is really, really important for us, and to be able to do a better job at tracking families we're working with in general, and not have to use Post-it notes to share a phone number. I mean, it's embarrassing, honestly. You know, we don't even know what it could be like, because, you know, this is just what we're used to. But it's like an infrastructure thing, you know, we really could use this. And Christina, I can't remember, one of the other needs that we had is a way to communicate to lots of people at once, or to, you know, for marketing purposes.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can use Salesforce for as well?
You can export contacts.
Okay.
And then use something like a constant contact, but it doesn't serve as one.
Okay.
So that might pose a problem if there's a limit to the town address book.
Yeah, we can't.
But we might be able to group it by service or something, rather than all 2020 clients.
Right.
So give us some figures, Christina.
Yeah, how much is it a year?
It is discounted at $3,200 a year.
And there be a commitment beyond the first year?
It's not. It's a year-to-year licensing.
So why is it discounted? Like, what is the discount?
It's normally, so it's based on user per month. They assign a dollar amount. So it would depend on how many users we have and what we're looking for. So since we're looking for contact records and reporting, it kind of opens us up to this tier 2 category of things. So I think initially it was $36.50, and then I don't know if that's the tax piece or if it is a municipal department.
So
I would be.
Go ahead, Marguerite. Go ahead.
No, I said I would be interested to know from whoever's going to be in charge of IT for Southborough now, whether any other departments are using it, and whether Southborough could buy it for us.
I agree.
Yeah, for those of you who may not be aware, Tom LaFlamme, who's the IT director, is moving on to another job.
He is?
So sad. So sad. Yes.
I know.
I literally went, no. Yeah. So, yeah, actually, I mean, with both Theranest and Salesforce, we're gonna have to go through the ID department. We can't just, do this on our own. We have to have them take a look at it first.
So we're looking to purchase, I think you're going to talk about one other thing too, but we're looking to purchase both of those things.
Yes.
Okay.
If we have your approval, we have to move forward. Of course, it's not a done deal. Like I said, we would have to move on to the next step, which is asking the Municipal Technology Committee to take a look at it.
Sarah, you would use Theranos. I think you could manage the clinical aspects through Salesforce. I don't think you would need Theranos because you could pretty much copycat anything that they have developed in terms of managing that aspect of the business with Salesforce. I think you could you could probably schedule appointments, you could fill out forms online, you could manage client contact information. It's just something to keep in mind. I don't think you would need both of them. And I would really want them to be able to feed into each other. So Theranos would need to be able to dump into the Salesforce database. So would keep, because I see Salesforce as a more of an enterprise, like a departmental wide tool application, whereas Theranos is more specific. It would be, a service specific. So say you have a big organization, a big company, and you have one big database that manages HR, marketing, and sales and product development. That's kind of what Salesforce would be. Whereas just having a little tiny application in marketing or whatever. So I think Salesforce could probably do it all and grow more with the department.
Yeah.
But
Christina had said that originally. My hesitation is about with therapy, there's specific, Theranest is created specifically for therapy and case management services. So it definitely fits those needs. I, of course, am definitely more interested in having something that suits all needs. And Christina was saying that she thought that it could. My only wonder, though, maybe the best thing for us to do would be to try Salesforce and see if it could fit all needs. But I'm really attracted to the client portal piece.
I understand.
I think. Go ahead.
Just one point. With Theranos, what I would recommend is maybe using it for a year in conjunction with the Salesforce, with the thought that you get an idea of what its best features are. And I think you could probably replicate them in the Salesforce. If it's a true relational database, I think that you would definitely be able to port over what you have and create the same client portal aspect to it. So
we would start out with the two and for 1 year, and then find out if maybe we could just go strictly to one.
Yeah.
What is language line?
Oh, we have one more.
We have one more.
All right, let's go through that.
Language line, though, is something that we can't give you a price on. So I'll just give you the background that we have been asking the town or putting it on their radar that there is a critical need in town for interpretation services. There are a number of families that we work with that there are language barriers to I had a conversation today with somebody, with a family that's Egyptian, and
you couldn't speak with them? What's wrong with you?
I couldn't. No, we got through, but this family deserves to have a conversation. They need help.
Yes.
They deserve to have a conversation and have access to the same services that everyone else does. And so it's about accessibility and equality and making things equitable. And so I have been trying to highlight that as a need, not just for our department, but for the whole town. I think that it's really important that residents have access to the services that every town department offers, regardless of their native language. And so it just happens to be something that's more on our radar, and something that we keep bringing up. It's especially important right now because of this mortgage and rental assistance program. And the application explicitly states that language services are available. And so we need to have a way of doing that. So Christina, again, reached out to a company called Language Line. And the nice thing about Language Line is you only pay for it if you use it. There's no subscription fee. You create an account, and then at the time that you use it, they charge you per minute. And you can use a video chat for American Sign Language, or you can also use phone. Christina, am I missing anything? Was that basically what we found out? Yeah, okay. So it's a slightly higher price for video calls. But again, it's not the kind of thing that happens so frequently that we're going to end up spending thousands of dollars. Certainly not. But it's something that we believe should be in place so that if we need it, we can use it.
Does the town have anything like that now? Do any other department? They have nothing.
The police department does. In fact, Chief Paulus sent me, I couldn't make it out. He sent me a picture of an invoice from what they use. I had asked him if it was possible for us to use their account, and I didn't get an answer to that. So it might be a little bit difficult to parse that out, our usage versus their usage, but so I can't, this one's a little bit different because I'm not coming to you saying, unless we want to approve a certain amount, you could say $500 to start. And, then I come back to you again saying, we used all the $500. Can we do it again? But, we need to have a funding source available should we need to do interpretation services. I'll tell you, the family I talked to today has an immense amount of need, and they need some help talking it out with somebody, and they deserve that.
Definitely.
We want to help them. So
Sarah, how does it work exactly? If someone calls, say I call you and I don't speak, I don't know what, and I can't understand you, then how does this program actually work?
So we would do a three-way call with Language Line. We would start a conference call. We'd call into Language Line, ask for an interpreter who speaks X, and they would get somebody on the line and talk with us, and then we get invoiced for however long the conversation was.
So there's a PIN number when you sign up through the website. You will get an account number. And then when you call in, you put your account number in, and that's how they control their billing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So it's not necessarily the full length of the call. It's just when you're talking to someone. Mm-hmm. So it is a 24-hour service. I believe they have 1,200, different employees working. So it's unlikely that there'll be a waiting period, but you're only billed for when you're actually speaking to someone.
So, but how do you, I think more what Margaret Marguerite is saying, at least what I understand you're saying is, how do you, if someone calls and they speak Chinese,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. How are they communicating with us in the first place?
Speak Chinese, right? So
Mhm.
how do you even initiate the, how do you say, oh, we're gonna get an interpreter? Like how do you go setting that, the initial
Yeah, I mean,
part up?
that it's logistically challenging, but there's at least a little bit of communication that can be had. For example, today I was able to extrapolate from the conversation that this family was from Egypt. So, there's it's not to say that often they have a few words that they can say that will help, but we get somebody on the line who can also sort of, who is familiar with different languages and maybe can listen to the resident for a minute and probably pick up on, some of what they, what they might speak. So we get it on. Shannon, I can see you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we can talk about this later offline, but that's one of my families that came up today. So 100% of the time they come to us through a referral somewhere else. So they're gonna say, we need, you know what I mean? This family really needs help, but they speak Arabic. This family really needs help, but they speak, Portuguese or whatever.
Are there other services in the Metro West area, like through advocates or some of the other nonprofit organizations that would provide in-person interpreter for in-person meeting with a family?
I know hospitals are set up that way. If you went into Boston, that they would bring a translator, physically bring a translator to you, but
you could wait hours, right? You could wait a long time.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
This sounds incredibly important.
I've used it and it's a great service.
Well, that's good.
Definitely sounds like it's worth trying.
So I like the idea of giving like a chunk of money to you, and then you can come back like you do and say, okay, we've used this and we need another chunk.
Okay.
Yeah, and it sounds like more of a short-term need, or not. I mean, it's
intermittent need, I would say.
Yes, that's probably.
There will always be a need, but it's not.
Right.
It's not a daily thing or even a weekly thing.
Not constant.
So, Christina, I'm trying to remember. Is it like $3 a minute or something like that? You're muted. Sorry.
It is it's $3.95 for voice and then $4.95 for video. So if you wanted that for American Sign Language.
Okay. So let's say theoretically, so the conversation I had today was about 15 minutes, and we accomplished quite a bit. 15 minutes times $60. You're a human calculator. So $60 for the conversation I had today. So, I mean, does it, I don't know what the board feels comfortable with, or Shannon, if you have a starting point, or Christina, if you have thoughts, but I was throwing out the idea of 500 as a budget just to work with. I feel like that would last us quite a while, probably.
I'm fine with that number. I don't know how everybody else feels, but
that, and we'll see how long it lasts. If it lasts a month, then we'll have to come back to the drawing board.
Right.
So would you be using this also for counseling sessions, or just for like initial, emergency type of issues? Or
I would say no to. I would use it with someone to try to help with referral support if they were looking for counseling, but not for counseling sessions, only because it would be terribly expensive. Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a very good.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it would be. I would love to help somebody find a therapist that speaks their language in the area, for sure.
Yeah.
So as I added it up, Theranest max $600 a year, Salesforce $3,200 a year, and language line $500 a year, grand total $4,300. That would be the max amount of money that you're asking for those.
And what do we have available? I forget.
I've got to open the
We don't know if
director's
it's
report.
going to be capped at 500 for the language.
Right, I mean, that's just ballpark for.
Yeah.
Right.
And Sarah, I'm not on my work computer, so I don't have the startup amount for Salesforce. I think it was a few $100s just to kind of get up and running. They were kind of going to build the bones for us.
Okay.
I
you
wanna
sent me
say-
an email.
I did. I'm just on my home computer, so I can't pull up my work email. But just while we're doing specific numbers, I want to make sure that is included before there is a vote.
Add in another $200, so that'd be $4,500 for everything.
I have your 3,200 here in the email.
There should be another attachment. There are two.
Oh, when you sent me a quote, right?
Yes.
So it'd be 3,500, you think,
Premier Success Plan.
or 3,400?
Hold on, I'm trying to grab what she sent me here. Okay, so actually it would be $37.58 for that first year.
$37.58.
Yep.
If we're talking numbers, can I ask a question? I
Yes.
just Googled Theranest as I was on here.
Yeah.
You guys know more about it, but it mentioned something about an active client maximum for each price. That's figured in. You can deal with 50 clients or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, because that would be for a subset of clients that we're serving through just counseling and case management services. At our most, when we had two counseling interns, Megan and myself, we had 40 clients roughly. I'd love for Shannon to have the option of using this too, to have a client portal with some of her clients go from being active to sort of what they call archived. So she would, have some that were archived clients and just leave a few slots available for her active clients. But so yeah, the Service Cloud Professional Edition and the Premier Success Plan with the support, that year one is $37.58.40.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for remembering.
Is it possible to, I don't know if we're going to vote on each of these separately, but with respect to Salesforce, I thought Marguerite brought up a couple of good points. One was whether or not any other town department was currently using it. And two was whether the town could contract this service for us. So rather than, because that is the largest dollar amount here, rather than, I know you're looking to the board, it sounds like you're looking to the board to make a decision. Could we get more information and vote on that at a later date, either via email or at our next board meeting?
That would be an open meeting law violation to do over email, but we could certainly bring it up at the
So
next.
does everyone, do you want to do it in pieces and not do it as a group? Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that's the best thing to do.
Theranest and language lines seem like no-brainers at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Salesforce.
Yes.
And maybe with Salesforce, maybe we can reconvene with that at our next meeting, and maybe Christina could, I don't know, they must have some kind of demo or something. Maybe they, I don't know, show us the types of reports that could be produced.
Well, I feel like we know that information. I think the question is
How to pay
right,
for
that
it.
how to pay for it, basically. We know what it can do. But it's a question of,
Well,
how to pay for it.
the concern is we have that money in our donation account, but then going forward, how are we going to pay for it?
Mm-hmm. Right. And again, I didn't want to put it in our town budget. No matter what, we need something in place, whether it's Salesforce or something else.
I think that you need to look at it from a perspective of how it will reduce your administrative workload and help you focus on more of, programming, services, outreach, referrals, clinical contacts, all that kind of stuff. I do think it will definitely streamline the department, and there'll be a savings. I think a significant amount of savings in time of just, putting the post-it notes or, typing up a Word document with figures in it. I think it's a lot of, how people did business in the 1980s.
Don't say it. Don't say that.
It's just, it would bring you into current time.
Mm-hmm.
You would be surprised how much easier it is to do business and how much more time you will have to do the things that you guys are qualified to do and
Right.
not doing busy work. So,
and then again too, for budgets in the future, we can have some concrete numbers.
yeah, I would definitely put it in the next budget. But for this year, I think that we need to figure out how a different way to pay for it. So
here's my question. Salesforce sounds wonderful. I wonder if there are any other town departments that use it or could use it, and whether it'd be possible for the town to negotiate it. Because it really sounds like we're not the only department that could use it.
Mm-hmm.
I think other town departments already have, with the exception of the senior center, have, like, I know Recreation's we're using their software for registration for programs right
Yeah, I
now.
remember that.
I know they've got their own thing. The library certainly has their own database of, lots of different things.
So you think the
So-
senior center doesn't have this at all?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they would need something this complicated. I don't think they really need to do much reporting and things like that. The only department, like the DPW might use something like this. Some of the bigger departments with many moving parts might consider it useful. It's worth looking into, and Salesforce might be interested in coming out and doing a demo to the IT people and whoever else to see if it might be a bigger fit. Because I think, yes, if it could be sold on a larger scale with more users, I think then they would negotiate the price down per
But in
user.
the interim, what do you guys want to do?
I said we vote to fund these 3 different software applications.
On a temporary basis.
Yeah, for the
For a year?
for
A year, probably
Yeah.
a year.
You want to do them separately or together?
Beth, you keep saying something. Is there something you wanted to say?
Me?
Beth.
Okay.
Oh, I was asking Sarah if she was making a motion.
Oh.
Well,
no, was that?
Well, I think we need to decide if we're going to make a motion separately for each of the particular items or if we want to do them en masse.
I'm
So,
gonna suggest you do them separately.
Yeah, I think that's a better idea as
Yeah.
well. No matter how we feel, how strong we feel about all three of them anyway, but, so Margaret, you want to make a motion for each one? Because you're so good at that?
Oh, I'd love
that's
to.
your new job.
The motion maker.
Emotion. So emotional.
I'm emotional. I move that we take the amount of $600 or okay, the amount of $600 being removed from the donation account to pay for Theranest software for 1 year.
A second.
Sarah Micas.
Micus, aye.
Susan Bucka.
Hi.
Beth Dombacher.
Hi.
Lauren Ritchie.
Aye.
Leslie Haddon.
Aye.
Susan Byer.
Aye.
And Marguerite Landry.
Aye.
Okay.
Passes
Motion, what do they say? Motion carries.
Motion
Motion
carries. Right. Okay, I move that we remove the amount of oh my God, $3,758 from the donation account to pay
And
for
40 cents.
and 40 cents. Are there any other fees on that? Should I say the amount of $4,000 just to round it up?
I would round it up, yeah.
All right. Okay. I move that we remove the account on the amount of $4,000 from the donation account to pay for Salesforce software for 1 year.
Second.
Sarah Micas.
Aye.
But by the way, nobody is, if you disagree, you should say nay. Susan Bucka.
Aye.
Beth Dombacher.
I'm a little confused. What was the price, Marguerite?
We rounded at Salesforce up to $4,000 because it was $3,000, the maximum of $4,000 because it was $3,758.44.
Oh, I thought it was 37.
It is. That's the quote that came in, but they're suggesting
Oh,
rounding it up to 4,000.
I don't understand. I thought it's 4,000.
I'm rounding it up to $4,000.
So it was 3,700.
$37.58 and 44 cents.
40.
I thought it was 37,000.
No.
No.
Oh, my
3,700.
God. Oh, that
That would
that's
be
a lot of money.
software. Right.
I'm paying for this. I
Okay.
favor.
Lauren Ritchie.
Aye.
Leslie Haddon.
So I was going to say nay because I thought we were going to reconvene and revisit this next month. But I'm reluctant to say nay if everyone else is saying.
Oh, no board peer
You
pressure.
actually should not feel reluctant to do that.
I just feel I'd like to get a little more information only because I know this is going to be an ongoing expense. It's not just this one-time expense. So that's why I'm not voting for it at this point in time.
Okay.
It is for 1 year.
Yes.
Susan
So I
Byer.
think Leslie is making a good
Okay.
point because
I'm
once you
gonna
make a motion, I just think that Leslie's making a good point because once you make a motion, that you should open for discussion. So like
No. Once you make the motion, you have to vote.
We've already had the discussion. No.
You have the discussion and then you vote. So once you've decided to vote, you can't discuss, but you can vote no if you want.
I think the reason why it shifted gears a little was because I said something like, whether it's Salesforce or something else, this is a need we have. So no matter what, there's an expense here. And I guess the question I have is what additional information is needed in order to, no matter what, we're going to have to go to the next level, which is to talk to the Municipal Technology Committee. I can tell you right now the answer to some of your questions about whether the town will pay for this. And if it's a service that your department needs, you pay for it. It's not, even our own Zoom account, we pay for it. When Christina had to go get her pre-employment physical, we paid for it. So there is no, there's nothing that
Okay.
the town is going to pay for us. It comes out of our budget.
Yeah, I think is that what you mean, Leslie? That you mean it should
Yes.
be in the budget? Yeah.
So we're approving the cost, or we're approving the next step in moving forward with choosing either this or something?
It would be the board's approval to use up to $4,000 to pay for Salesforce if the Municipal Technology Committee approves it. So we would go on to the next step. We wouldn't have to then come back to you guys to say, do we have your approval? We have the approval. We can go to the next step. And if they say, go for it. Oh, hi, May May.
That's Zach.
If we have the approval, then we can move forward with it because we've already asked the board for approval.
Okay. All right. I feel better about that. And I'm sorry to
Don't
No, it's
apologize,
okay.
Leslie.
hold up the vote. So
Don't
do we start
apologize.
over, or
And you
No,
should vote how you feel. You should.
I agree.
Yeah.
Lauren, do you have a question?
I do. I think that it's motion second, then discussion, and then the vote.
Yes.
No,
So it's
you
not a
can,
question. It was just,
okay, okay, all right.
That's how it's done at
You're
town
right,
meeting.
you're right. I don't know, I can't remember anymore.
Yeah.
Can I just interject? We had a nice conversation with, was it Betsy Rosenblum, Sue?
Yes.
Who was letting us know there is no mandate actually that boards and committees need to use parliamentary process.
I was so thrilled to hear that.
You're so
Really?
good.
Oh, I like
Okay,
that.
So you can all just go, me, and I mean, this is much more organized, but as far as boards and committees, of course, at town meeting, that's a different story, and the selectmen, but
So where are we on the vote? Are we gonna stop the vote and start over again, or just table it until another meeting for Salesforce?
well, the motion on the table was up to $4,000 for Salesforce.
Right.
I'm going to suggest that we start over, make the motion again, and start
Okay.
over with the
Okay.
voting.
Okay. Am I making the motion?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. I move that we remove the amount of $4,000 and no more from the donation account in order to purchase Salesforce software for 1 year.
Second.
Sarah Micus, aye.
Marguerite,
Aye.
Subaka, aye.
Lauren Ritchie, aye.
Don Bacher, aye.
Leslie had an eye.
is that everybody?
I think that's everybody.
Okay.
All right, and I'll move that we remove the account of, remove the amount of $500 to purchase language line translation assistance. What is it called? It's not really a software, it's a service, right?
Yeah.
Language line translation service for the next year.
For the amount of,
Oh, sorry, $500.
second.
Okay, Sarah Micus,
Aye.
Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Dombacher,
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie,
Aye.
Leslie Haddon,
Aye.
Susan Byer,
Aye.
and Marguerite Landry.
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. So we're going to look further into this and we'll give you guys an update on what happens next. But thank you for the very, what's the word I'm looking for? Robust conversation. Okay.
You're welcome.
Jackie.
I'm going to just touch upon the next item on the agenda and just tell you, give you an update. And I'm going to suggest that we table this to the next meeting in the interest of time. We created some forms, basically some release forms, oh, Christina, you are welcome to stay if you want to, but if you'd like to go, you can too. And actually, Megan and Shannon, up to you guys, but thank you for coming, Christina. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye, Christina. Have a good night.
Bye.
I just wanted to update you guys that we worked with the town attorney to create some documents for clients to sign to be able to see us in person, just in time for all the numbers to start going up. So we finally have those documents available. So basically, there's a consent form that residents would have to sign saying they understand they're putting their own selves at risk by seeing us in person, that we're not held responsible if they end up getting sick by coming into the office to see us in person. But I just wanted to put it on the board's radar that I, in particular, am in a difficult position of balancing what's in the interest of residents with what the comfort level is of staff. And so it's a high priority for me to have our staff members feeling comfortable with the services that we're providing. And I'll just say that in-person services would be, right now, would be a last resort. And this is really what the CDC is saying and the boards of health, that if remote services are working, that's what you should do. We wanted to have the option of in-person services because at some point things were looking better. And also there are some some situations that telehealth is not working as well. To be honest with you, in those situations, in-person services aren't going to work perfectly either because of whatever is going on for that particular individual or family. But I am coming to the board just asking for some thought, consideration from you all as our advisory board, as our, to help me make some decisions about guidelines for when we should do in-person services and when we shouldn't. I would love there to be some data or some.
I think with my opinion is that it's individual to all of you, depending on what your circumstances are at home, and your family and their health and your health. If one of you is comfortable seeing clients in person, with masks and sitting very far apart.
We have certain guidelines that we have to follow. That are
then
optional.
I think that's fine. But if one of you out of the three is not, then I think that's acceptable. I think you can't force people, especially because of what you guys do.
So I feel very strongly about this because both of my children have, they're not small children anymore, but they both have pre-existing health issues. And my oldest has a compromised immune system and gets sick very easily. My youngest doesn't get sick easily, but he has type 1 diabetes. And if he gets COVID, he has a 3 times more likely chance of dying. So this is to me, it's a very, very serious situation. Also, the latest guidelines by the governor, like he doesn't want you to invite anyone into your home that doesn't live with you. He wants families to continue visiting through Zoom or video chat or on the telephone. So if the governor is saying that families should do it this way, then I think that we should still be in emergency mode, and that, you should still be operating under very strict guidelines. That's my personal opinion.
And I think one of the things they're talking about with what Governor Baker is saying is that he's talking about holidays too, and having people over for a dinner party. Like, you shouldn't be eating and drinking with people that aren't in your immediate circle.
Yeah.
So I think counseling could be a little bit different than that. I mean, but again, I wouldn't say that we could make a sweeping decision for the three of you. I think it depends on your comfort zone and the clients. So,
So
like, we're not having Thanksgiving. We've already decided that.
Yeah.
We usually go to my mother's, and none of us are, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just where we are personally.
So for right now, I realize this conversation could go in lots of different directions. I'm going to suggest we table it for right now.
Okay.
I know everybody is going to have their own personal opinions. What I want to present to the board is that we as a department have a responsibility, and we need to balance that with our comfort level. And we have guidance from the Board of Health and the CDC, and other youth and family service departments are doing things a little bit differently. I'm just asking for the board to have some level of involvement in helping us make some of these decisions. It feels like unanimously where we are right now, everybody, well, I shouldn't say that because not everybody has spoken, but I'd like to table it for right now and just put it on your mental radar that we're asking for your assistance with making that decision, because if we always make our decisions based off of the comfort level of ourselves, we may not be balancing the equation quite right with what our responsibilities are to residents and our jobs. So I'm going to keep it there for right now, if that's okay.
No, that's great. That's
I don't know that we need to make any decisions, given that we don't have anybody on our radar right now that needs in-person services. So that's the good news. But I don't think any decisions need to be made, but it's a fluid thing too. So we're going to need to touch base about this regularly. But I'd love for the board to chime in at every board meeting or different intervals to say, what their thoughts are on, on that, if that makes sense. And
Thank
Megan,
you. No, that's good for us to think about.
You guys have anything you want to chime in about with this, or?
Well, I think it could be a moot point by this time next month, because I saw the Brigham data today and the trajectory is not good. Right. So I think that any way we can minimize any contact with anybody from the outside world, the better off we'll be as a state. So
that's great.
I really do believe that things are going to get rough before they get better. And I just think keeping our staff healthy is my priority.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate you guys chiming in, because when it comes to responding to the needs of residents, it's helpful for us to be able to say our board has backed us up on this plan, versus just us as employees in isolation making this decision. So thank you for taking part in that conversation with us.
I feel strongly that you guys should protect yourselves well, because you're basically really essential. And if any one of you should become sick, that would be a disaster for the department.
Thank you, Marguerite. That's a nice thing to say.
Well said.
Okay. We have two more things to get to. They are a Friends report and the Laurie Sugarman Whittier Wellness Award. I don't know that both of them will take too long. Leslie, I'm not sure if you have a lot to say, or.
There's not much to say. We met, as you know, we held our meeting and we discussed some administrative things about, how money is coming to the account and who's going to deposit that money and who's going to check the email. And basically right now we're just supporting the holiday giving drive and looking to the future for other fundraising ideas. I don't know, is there anything you wanted to add, Sarah? But
no, I guess I would just add that with Christina on board too, the administration on our end paired with the administration in Kathy's office has seemed to be a match made in heaven. So the two,
Great.
Susan in Kathy's office and Christina in our office, are getting checks to each other and balancing accounts, and
That's great. That's
yes.
great to hear that.
Yes. Okay. Megan and Shannon, if you want to stay, I know I've said you can excuse yourself twice already. I know it's getting late. The Laurie Sugarman Whittier Award, we sent 3 nominations over. I would love for the group to vote tonight, because I'd love some time. The next time we see each other, maybe we can invite the winner to our next board meeting, or as somebody suggested, have them on Coffee Talk. I'd like to just find an opportunity to celebrate this person somehow. And we need a little bit of time left in the year to do that. So
can I just say, should we do it by number, Sarah? Should we do it by either 1, 2, or 3, or do you want to name the people? How do you want to go about that?
Well, I think we can name who nominee 1 is, and nominee 2, and nominee 3. And I would say, rather than disputing who's most deserving, that we should just give the people who nominated the person an opportunity to say something about that person, and then we just take a vote. You guys take a vote at the end on, and hopefully it's not like a tie or something like that. That would be awful. So
what?
So nominee number 1 was from Leslie Haddon. It was for Barbara Jandrew. Leslie, do you want to take a minute to say why you think Barbara's deserving?
I selected Barbara, who is one of the coordinators for the Southborough Food Pantry. Mainly because I know she's served the town in this capacity for almost 30 years. She has been the director of the food pantry since the early 1990s, and she's been involved at every level. She's the liaison, as Sarah knows, with Youth and Family Services, as well as Senior Center. She's also works directly with the Worcester County Food Bank. She services the clients both with respect to food needs, emergency fund, emergency needs that come up, medical needs, etc. She has a relationship with these clients, and my interaction with her has been more as a volunteer at the food pantry, but I'm just always amazed how respectfully and graciously she greets the clients with a smile and a positive attitude. And she's just a joy to be around. And I just think she's deserves recognition. So that's why I nominated her. She will be stepping down in her role, I believe, this spring of 2021. And that's why I selected Barbara, or nominated Barbara. And I did reach out to 2 of her coordinators, fellow coordinators, Pat Draper, who said, Barbara's the heart and head of the food pantry. I don't know what we will do or where we'll be without her, as well as many other things. She kind of rattled off all the things she does for the food pantry. And Marge Caldwell basically said the same thing. And she said she's made the food pantry what it is today. It started out as a little closet at the Pilgrim Church, and now they've taken over the whole hall and 2 classrooms. And obviously she's really had to step up, as have all the other women who run the food pantry during COVID. So
she's also a member of the emergency fund committee too.
Okay. Yep. So that was number 1.
Very well said, Leslie. Very well said.
Thank you.
Great. Number 2 was a nominee that I put in. It was a little bit of a collaborative effort with Shannon. This was for Leslie Chamberlain, and Leslie worked for the town in a full-time capacity, part-time with the Board of Health and part-time with the Senior Center. And just as COVID-19 came to our borders, she was getting ready to retire. And so she was in the middle of working part-time as a Board of Health nurse, trying to train a brand new Board of Health nurse, and undoubtedly worked well over her part-time hours and likely delayed her retirement to be able to support the community through March and April and May, which were probably the darkest of our days with COVID initially. That's one piece of why I nominated Leslie, but I, in my nomination form, I gave an example which stands out to both Shannon and I of Leslie's dedication to the families that she works with. So she had a husband and wife that she was helping. The husband learned he had stage 4 cancer. He deteriorated pretty quickly. And this family had very little resources and was not prepared for what lay ahead. This man was not accepted into any nursing home. So he had to go back to his apartment and was on a mattress on the floor. And the wife, really had to take care of him. They had some hospice care come to the apartment, but by and large, it was the wife that had to help him. And as you can imagine, that was incredibly difficult for her to go through. And Leslie was very present through that whole thing, including trips to their apartment, some at night, some on the weekends, to help administer morphine, help the wife with that. And so I think that's a really an example of just her dedication in working with families. She continues to work for the town. She's now in a part-time capacity. She's the nurse for the Senior Center only. So she no longer works with the Board of Health. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Shannon made a good point too, that she also volunteered as a mentor in our Project Friend Plus program. And she was such an asset to that program. So she just gives her all to everything that she does and works very, very hard, and is always very positive and supportive and patient and calm, despite what she's got on her plate sometimes. And so we wanted to recognize her for all she does for the community. And the third nominee was Bridget Unknown.
Bridget Unknown. Yes, that was my nominee. She is one of the town's unsung heroes. I only know her as Bridget, and she works at the transfer station. Over the years that I've gotten to know her, and a lot of other people I know in town have gotten to know her. She's just struck me as one of these people that who has gone much above and beyond her call of duty. She could just be manning the transfer station equipment and doing her duties at recycling, but she has become what I consider the transfer station ambassador, and she has access to a lot of people in town, and she has made it a point to reach out to everyone that pulls up to that curb and especially to the town's most vulnerable, the senior citizens, disabled people, newcomers. She is always there to greet you with a smile, to help you with your recycling, and to ask you about your life. You know, she connects with so many different people at so many different levels. You know, I see her with the elderly quite a bit, and she knows their kids' names, their dogs' names, you know, when they went on their last vacation. And I think for a lot of people that feel very isolated in certain circumstances, especially during COVID, the trip to the transfer station might be the only time they actually get out. I know from my own personal experience, Jim having MS, his driving days are over, but I do let him go to the transfer station once a week on Saturdays because he enjoys talking to Bridget, and she makes him feel like he's part of the community, and he looks forward to those types of encounters. And you know, the other people I've talked to, I'm like, you know, I always mention Bridget because I'm like, oh my gosh, Bridget. And people are like, oh, I know Bridget. And she, you know, hooked me up with, you know, a resource in Worcester for my brother who, you know, has a disability. I mean, she's even given me her brother's phone number, that if my husband needs a ride, he can call this guy, and he will give Jim a ride to the hospital or whatever he needs. So, I mean, you know, she isn't a trained licensed psychologist. She's not a public health person. She is just a really good person who provides a service to this community that I don't think really gets a whole lot of recognition. So I just wanted to put it out there. And she ran up to my car one day and gave me a sticker, and she has this own personal program that she is promoting called Be the Good. And it struck me. And as I put the sticker on the car, it really touched me. And I'm like, you know, for this person that, you know, doesn't have to be doing these things, she is a good person. So I just thought that was a remarkable little thing. So anyway, Bridget,
I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm going to summarize the three and then vote. I'm going to try to figure out how to summarize Bridget Unknown.
Does anybody know her name?
So first, just as a reminder, nominee number 1 is Barbara Jandrew, who's been the food pantry director, been working with the food pantry for 30-something years and is retiring this spring. Nominee number 2 is Leslie Chamberlain, who is the Board of Health, was the Board of Health nurse and the nurse for the senior center. And nominee number 3 is Bridget from the transfer station, who is the transfer station ambassador of Goodwill.
Very nice.
Excellent.
Okay. So I guess the way we could do this, I'm happy to just say the nominees and you raise your hand if you want to vote for that person. And
can we vote for all of them?
I know.
I think this is going to be really hard because I think they're all really
well, just know we have next year too, right?
Can the same person be nominated more than once?
Oh, definitely. Listen to me making a decision.
Can the same person be nominated? So you mean like in 2021?
Well, if they don't get
voted. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay. Yes, that was the question.
Okay. So for nominee number 1, Barbara Jandrew. Okay, we've got 4. And I think that wins, right?
Yeah.
If you can only vote once, then if I do the math, we can't.
I'm going to vote twice.
Okay.
I'm calling in the elections.
Don't start, please.
Georgia called it.
I've just called the Department of Justice. I'm sorry.
It won't do you any good.
It was rigged.
We need to litigate.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so then that means that Barbara Jandrew is the recipient of the Laurie Sugarman Whittier Wellness Award for 2020.
Wonderful.
And-
Congratulations to all the nominees.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, what I did last year was I actually sent a letter to everybody who was nominated so that they knew that they were nominated also. So we can do that as well. And then we'll try to figure out something special that we can do with Barbara. At the very least, I'd love to invite her. I don't know what time she goes to bed. We might need to change the time frame. But I'll talk with her.
A gift card somewhere? Do we get her a gift card or something?
Yeah.
We did get a gift for last year for that spa place.
Release. I remember picking that up. Yeah.
I'm not sure we can do that now.
No, you're not going to get a spa treatment right now, but
no, and we're not going to send Barbara there. That's for sure.
Maybe flowers from Gulbenkians or something like that.
flowers would be nice. Bin has really good sandwiches. We were just there. You can get them and sit on your back patio or go to the reservoir, get a bottle of wine. Might be nice.
Okay. You want to go ahead and say you want to get Bin gift card and some flowers, or just one or the other?
We should give her something.
Sure, or we can leave that up to you to decide.
Okay. I don't remember where we got the money for this last year.
I think we spent 150 last year.
Yeah.
I think it was 150, and I think we took it.
Did it come from friends, or was it from?
We can
take it from
friends.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Leslie, if we could put that on the agenda for
Oh, sure.
For the friends meeting, that would be
okay.
Good. Okay. Cool.
So
great.
I'm good with letting friends decide what the gift is.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's
good idea.
Nice.
Do I need to make a motion or? No. Okay.
It's a great suggestion. Let's leave it at that. I think that's a nice idea because that helps kind of pull them into the decision making too.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Great.
That's great. Sarah, do we have our next meeting time set?
I do have the next meeting already scheduled. So what I've been trying to do is a month in advance, plug it into a remote meeting time. So we do have the December 8th meeting already scheduled.
Great.
And when that comes around, I will then work on scheduling the January one. That seems to be the easiest thing to do. And then if we have a conflict at that point, we can reconvene and schedule another time. Is that okay with everybody?
That sounds great.
Okay. This was a long meeting.
It was
Thanks
a long meeting.
For sticking with it. And I was just going to say this, can you imagine, I mean, the director's report, there's so much information. We're doing so much. It's great. I'm going to toot our own horn a little. We're doing a lot of great work. So.
I like when you toot your own horn.
Thank you. Thank you. So there's always lots to talk about. So thanks for sticking with it and for being patient. And so are we calling this meeting to order at 9:31?
Yeah, I moved to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All right.
If I don't talk to you guys, please have a nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You too.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.